Yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot of sort of newsy type stuff, but I was thinking that before we sort of got into some of the less important things, that we could talk to a very special guest who's on the line right now. Her name is Kristin Reed, and she's a teacher at Montgomery High School in Santa Rosa, California. And if you haven't seen them on Twitter, their Twitter username is MHS Hunger Games. And basically, this school their goal is for the entire incoming freshman class to all read the Hunger Games together as a part of a 9th grade unit. And so they're in the process of trying to raise money to purchase 600 copies of the book. So that's definitely a very ambitious goal, but I think it's one that they'll achieve. Kristin, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Kristin. Thank you so much for coming on Fireside Chat tonight. So I just sort of briefly explained what you guys are trying to do. How much money have you been able to raise so far?
We've probably raised about $1,000. Scholastic is giving us a pretty good deal on the paperback copies of the book, so we think we're going to need between $3,500 and $4,000. So we're maybe a fourth to a third of the way there.
And who sort of decided to do this? Because I know that the Hunger Games is being taught in a lot of middle and high schools, but this is the first time that I've really heard of a school trying to, get an entire grade level to all read it together. So who sort of came up with this idea?
Well, it was kind of two things happening. We had a couple students who had read the book, the whole series, and shared it with their teacher, and they were like, this is amazing, you need to read it. And so she did, and then it started to pass through the rest of our department. At the same time, we had a couple other teachers that were thinking about doing this whole school read, where we had our entire school, which is about 1,800 kids, read some kind of maybe a nonfiction book or something like that. So we sort of put the two ideas together because we all thought the Hunger Games was so engaging and so topically relevant to what's going on in the world, in our country, in their lives. We decided to sort of put those two together. Unfortunately, with budget cuts and days taken off of our school year, we couldn't do the whole school, so we scaled it back to the whole 9th grade.
And have you faced any parental opposition at all? Because I know that the Hunger Games has been on several lists of most challenged books and things of that nature.
No parents. We haven't heard anything from parents. I've had a couple emails from parents saying, hey, here's one less book. My daughter already has it. So I think the thing that we're most about right now is that some of the kids will have already read it. And actually the middle schools were trying to take the book from us. They're like, no, we want it for middle school. No.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
So
let me step in here and ask a question to Ariel Burdoff, who is a librarian as well. And Ariel, what do you think when you hear complaints about books like The Hunger Games potentially being banned for being too violent? Or do you feel that there is any merit in that, or is this censorship in your mind?
Well, I think that parents have every right, to bring a book up to, to be questioned. That's their right. But honestly, I think that some of these parents are maybe just a little bit too afraid, and like that their child is going to read it on his or her own and not understand it, or take it the wrong way, or be really horrified by it. And what I feel like these parents need to know is that they need to read the book before their child or with their child, and children can, at least in my experience, handle a lot. And if you're afraid that they're going to get the wrong idea, if you read it with them and answer their questions or ask questions to them, it can really benefit them. So I think that half these parents are not in your school district, but that are objecting to the book are mostly objecting to the fact that, well, yes, if your 13-year-old daughter reads it on her own, she might be pretty emotionally scarred. Like, why don't you talk about this? And it's not meant to be a solitary experience. Your child is probably going to have questions or need to speak about it like we do with each other. So I don't think they have a right, but I really think that banning or challenging is a pretty bad idea because mostly it's just new ideas that people can learn from.
I completely agree with you. And I don't even know that it's new ideas necessarily because, I don't know, we had some issues with a challenged book a couple years ago. And when you think about the books that are part of the canon that we expect our kids to read, there's some pretty weighty things in there. I mean, Shakespeare is required 3 out of 4 grade levels at most schools. Of Mice and Men, we read that freshman year. Poor Len gets shot in the back of the head. It's heavy stuff. So I think your point about reading it along with them is exactly on target. That's the best thing. It's going to bond you with your kid, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kristin, I just want to step in and say, we've had some success in the past. There was a teacher in, I believe, was it California? Somewhere in the West who we helped raise some money for, and hopefully we'll be able to help you again with this project. But I was wondering, are you familiar at all with a great friend of the show and one of our close friends, Mrs. Orman? Have you heard of her at all, Kristin?
I have. I've been snooping around her Teachers Pay Teachers website and their Hunger Games blog.
Right, yes. Her blog, and in case anybody's interested, I believe on Facebook it's called Hunger Games Lessons, and she's really gone out of her way to state the case for why Hunger Games should be in the curriculum, and to see someone like you really bring this to practice like she is, I think this is a movement that can really, for lack of better words, catch fire and, make a big difference in the education of students, because I think it's a huge misconception about this series to say it's too violent, it's not good. No, it's really actually teaching great values of peace and morality that I think children are smart enough to understand, and it's insulting almost to them for us to sit here and say, no, they shouldn't read it. That's my soapbox.
Yeah, I mean, it has a very anti-violence message, and I think that's one thing that woman who wrote that Wall Street Journal article like a month or two ago totally missed.
Definitely. How can someone help out your cause? Where can people go to give you the support that you need?
We have a blog set up that has a lot of the background information for how this started and some ideas about what we're planning on doing with the book. There's also a donation button on that blog, and the blog is mhshungergames.blogspot.com. So anybody can go there. There's a little donate button at the top right-hand corner. Whatever you'd like to donate, we definitely appreciate it. I plan on updating the blog through the year, so if you're really curious what your money went to and what we're working on, you can totally check back and see.
Okay, great. Kristin, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and I hope we're able to help out. We'll do our best to spread the word. I know all the fan sites really care about this, so with any luck, you'll at least get a little bit closer to your goal, and hopefully more of your kids will get to read these great books.